Building resilience in the face of crisis. So what is a crisis? Because this is a context in which we would like to build resilience. A crisis is a time of intense difficulty or danger. It is also a time when a critical decision, an important decision must be made. It can also be described as a turning point, a point of inflection when something changes, whether when something is do or die, when something is recovery or death, when something is a win or loss. That's a crisis. There are so many words you may use to describe a crisis. For you and for different people, for myself, we may use different words. We may say it's a calamity, an emergency, a bind, a pickle, to be on the spot, hell on earth, to be in hot water, hardship, adversity, distress, difficulty. It's a critical point, a decisive point, a turning point, a Rubicon. That's a crisis. But really, what makes crisis so painful and something to talk about is because of how it makes us feel. When you're in a crisis, how do you feel? How are you? You feel disappointed, disillusioned, frustrated, anxious, worried, afraid, unstable, uncertain, exposed, naked, helpless, lost, or afraid. You may feel hopeless. There's no hope in sight. Defeated, overwhelmed, weighed down, overburdened, stressed, unwell, and even vulnerable. Ultimately, a crisis makes us unable to transact our lives optimally. We cannot even transact our lives in a normal way. We feel that we are not equal to the challenges and the demands of life that is coming on us. We feel unable or less, truly not equal to transact our lives. As we discuss about building resilience in the midst of a crisis, I would like us to keep in mind 2 Corinthians 4:9. From New Living Translation, it says, we are hunted down, but never abandoned by God. We get knocked down, but we are not destroyed. Hunted down. We feel hunted down by life. The life you're meant to be enjoying is actually hunting you down, has turned on you. What is resilience then? Because we need to build resilience in the time of crisis. Resilience is our measure to survive, but not only to survive, but to succeed and to be successful. Ultimately, success in life is not really material possession. The ultimate is not what you have. It is who you become and what you become and why you become, what you mean to other people, the difference and the change that you made in your life, in the life of others, and in the universe. That is success. Ultimately, it's a sum total of your highs and lows. So it's a sum total of your successes and your crises, your failures and successes, your highs and lows. That is success, the sum total of everything. Resilience is a critical factor in success in life. And that's why then we must say, how do you build resilience in the time of crisis and in the long haul in life? Life is actually about building resilience all along because life is a journey. We have had more often than not the rule of the jungle that says survival for the fittest. Have you ever seen a plant shooting out of the dry, hard ground? That is resilience. Have you ever seen a regrowth of a tree that has been cut down and it's dry? Then during the rain season, at the first hint of moisture, something starts to shoot out. That is resilience. So resilience is the ability to weather adversity, survive, and make a comeback. The ability to weather all these difficulties and challenges and adversities and to recover from setback and be productive like you were before or even better. So resilience, according to the dictionary, is a capacity to recover quickly from difficulties. It's also an ability. It is not only a capacity, it is also an ability of a substance or an object to spring back into shape. It's elasticity, flexibility, suppleness, pliability of a product, of an object, of a substance. When I combine capacity and ability, I get capability. So for me, I define resilience as the ability, has the capability to survive and thrive, to recover and be productive after facing adversity. So how do we build resilience? Building resilience is a continuous process. Every single day, you are building resilience or destroying your resilience. You are either adding to your resilience or taking away from your resilience, but you have to build resilience. Transacting our lives requires that you build capacity, you build ability, and therefore collectively you build capability, so that you can transact your life in what I call a meaningful way, a worthwhile way, in a way that it counted, and in a purposeful way, in a way that it mattered, and in a holistic, balanced way. That is transacting your life. Every day you wake up, you take a decision, you say a word, you take an action, a thought, you connect with someone or disconnect with somebody. Whatever you are doing, you are transacting your life. You are every single day transacting your life from the day you are born to the day you die, you're transacting your life. So resilience is about building and maintaining the optimality of your ability to transact your life. And this is what I call building your bandwidth. And you're required to build 4 bandwidth to make your collective resilience: physical bandwidth, emotional bandwidth, mental bandwidth, and spiritual bandwidth. 4 bandwidths. A bandwidth is like a container. When you talk about the capacity of a container, the capacity of a bandwidth. And resilience is what is inside that container. And what is inside that container in terms of that resilience is the energy and the resource that you have to face life and to transact life, and especially during crisis. This energy is physical energy, mental energy, emotional energy, spiritual energy. You are always expending energy, and therefore you must also replenish energy. And what remains after expending the energy you have replenished or you have stored is really the bandwidth you have to take anything extra or above the normal that comes with a crisis. Without proper management of these 4 energies, then you burn out. You don't only get physical burnout, you get emotional burnout. You get mental burnout, mental health. That's why we talk about mental fogginess, lack of clarity, the sense of being disjointed. You get even spiritual burnout. So my question to you today is, how are you? Are you fired up or are you burnt out? Life is holistic. When we talk about our energies, as I've said, is that we approach it from the sense of a holistic human being. You are a body, soul, and spirit. Your body gives you the sense of the world. Your soul gives you the sense of self. And your spirit gives you the sense of eternity, immortality, the sense of a higher being, the sense of God. So when you talk about resilience and those 4 energies and the 4 bandwidths that are related to those energies, is about looking at them from the angle of body, soul, and spirit. At the soul level, the sense of self, that's where you have your mind, your will, and emotion. And during crisis, your will is challenged. Your will to go on, your will to face the day like a winner from a point of positivity is challenged by a crisis. Your physical health is challenged by a crisis, your physical body. Your spirit is challenged by this crisis. All your 4 bandwidth, there's demand being made on them by a crisis. So therefore, we must build resilience at all the 4 levels of your bandwidth. You must build physical resilience, mental resilience, emotional resilience, and spiritual resilience. So how do we go about building this resilience? Physical, the bare minimum, starts with hygiene. I like to say that, when you're challenged by life and you feel low, you feel defeated, you feel frustrated, hopeless, you can tend to neglect your physical self. You think that the way I look doesn't matter. You can even forget the basic hygienes of brushing your teeth, combing your hair, taking a bath. But during a crisis, you need to do these things. You need to remember to do these things. Actually, a bath, a shower is a therapy. There's something beautiful about water falling on us. Maybe that's why sometimes we enjoy dancing in the rain, the feeling of water. That's why man invented a shower. The effect of the feeling of rain, artificial rain. Hygiene starts with hygiene. Take care of yourself, your physical body. Beauty starts with soap and water. Eat and rest. You need food, you need water, you need to be hydrated for your physical strength and physical well-being. In the Bible, we are told about Elijah, who was facing a crisis. There was a threat on his life through Ahab and Jezebel, and he ran away. He had just finished challenging the prophets of Baal, and his life was in danger, so he ran away. And he fell upon a place and slept. We are told an angel came and woke him up and told him, arise, eat and drink, because the journey before you is long. The crisis is not over. So eat and hydrate. And remember to eat healthy food, because during crisis, you can turn to food for comfort, what we call comfort food. And you can pick any food that is not healthy. And you can start eating things that are not good for your health, that drain your energy instead of giving you energy. So be aware of what you're eating. Eat a balanced diet, healthy food. Make sure you're eating that you're well supplied nutritionally. Then rest and sleep. When you expend energy, you need to replenish energy. You need to recuperate. You need to rest. And just because you're sitting down or lying down does not mean you're necessarily resting. Especially if so much is going on in your mind. Your mind is restless. You are churning thoughts and thoughts. Negative thoughts. The self-talk and the stories you're telling yourself in the mind is just predicting doom and failure and how incapable you are of facing the future. Rest, quiet your mind. Let your mind slow down. Cool off all those thoughts. When you go to sleep, truly sleep. Especially today with our gadgets and technology, and they are always pinging and ponging around us with alerts. You may not be resting adequately. Put off those gadgets and completely rest. We are told by researchers that a typical human being can reach out for their gadget 150 times per day. That is too much. We are unable to focus or to concentrate or to be quiet, to be silent in our own minds within us, because you can be silent verbally, but your mind is talking and loud and shouting. We are unable to do so even for 15 minutes. The concentration of a typical human being has dropped to 15 to 3 to 5 minutes because of technology and information overload all about us. So, switch off those gadgets. When you go to bed, switch off. When you rest, switch off and recuperate. Exercise and get some fresh air. Stress is about hormones. The stress hormone is called cortisol. You can drive down this hormone by just exercising, going out and getting some fresh air, taking deep breaths and listening to your own breath. And as you breathe out, you can count 1 to 6 to 10, slowly, and cortisol just drastically drops. Do your favorite exercise. Running outdoors, brisk walk, dancing, moving up and down the stairs, some form of exercise. It's good for your physical muscles, it's good for your mind, it's good for your moods. Exercise. Therefore, increase your physical bandwidth by watching how you expand and replenish your physical energy. Mental resilience. Your mind serves you a lot. Your mental faculties, you will not be able to transact your life without your mental faculties. We know that fear, worry, and anxiety that comes because of a crisis are difficulty. It triggers the center of your brain and triggers fear, anxiety, and worry. And to solve problems in a crisis, to really face them head on and to solve them, you need your highest cognitive resources. Usually when we are faced by a threat or by a fear, our lower brain or primitive brain kicks in. It is what pushes more blood to our muscles so that you can fight or take a flight. You are ready to fight physically. You are awake. But you need your mental faculties now to confront the crisis. And not to run away, but face it. But to do so, then your cognitive thinking and skills need to come into play. And that cannot happen when you're in a state of flight. When your lower brain or your primitive brain has sabotaged your cognitive resources. So do not bury your head in the sand in a crisis by running away or by refusing to face the crisis. The first point of facing the crisis is confronting and accepting the facts. In our lives, even normally without a crisis, there are always the facts staring at us, and then there's a way we make meaning out of those facts. Those are the stories we tell ourselves, the narratives that go on in our heads. And those stories are actually based and anchored on our self-belief, your self-conceptualization, your self-image, your self-worth, your self-respect. So based on how you value yourself, respect yourself, and how you see yourself in the context of that crisis, relative to that crisis, you're going to tell yourself certain story that may not be true in regard to the fact that you're facing. I usually say, separate the facts from the story. Look at the facts and balance them with the truth. Because what happens in the midst of all those facts, there are so many opinions, rumor mongering, fear mongering, especially today with our social media, news, fake news. Everybody has an opinion. And you want to take all those opinions in. The facts can be lost in all that clutter of information overload. It's like a pin in a haystack. The fact is a small pin in a haystack. You need to get to the fact. And then challenge your confirmation biases. All of us tend to look for information that confirms our story. And our story, remember, it is laced with untruth because of either our insecurities, our own fear, our low self-esteem, our lack of confidence. So the most important thing is look at the facts and then reinforce your story with facts. And coupled with self-belief, tell yourself a positive story that you will make through it. We increase our mental capacity by looking for the right information from credible sources, by learning the truth, increasing our knowledge, seeking to understand it, and applying it. Therefore, increase your competency to make decisions and wise and sound decisions. Learn a new skill in decision making, evaluating, assessing, and correlating facts so that you can bring yourself to objectivity and truth as much as possible. That is increasing your mental resilience. Our mental resilience go together with emotional resilience. When you combine your mental and emotions, then you create an experience. When somebody asks you, do you mind? Minding is when you apply your mental processes to emotional processes and combine, you create a minding process. Do you mind? After you think about an issue cognitively, assess it, and look at it objectively or from your point of view, then you ask yourself, how do I feel about this issue? That is called minding. So you can increase your mental resilience by taking care of your mind, a combination of your mental and also your emotions. In terms of emotions, the first thing is to calm down your mind. Because what is happening at the level of your mind will affect your emotions. You can really get wound up with worry and fear because in your mind you're telling yourself this story of such an uncertain, unstable future, a future that has not come. So bring yourself back to the present. That is called practicing mindfulness. Mindfulness. Bring yourself back to the present. You could be worrying about a future, a horrible future that will never be. So bring yourself back to the present and say, what is happening around me right now? Sometimes I usually say, even focus on your physical body. Look at your fingers, count them. Bring your back to the present. Look around you and see what is around you. Look at your house. Look at your children who are around you, friends and colleagues or family. Look at objects around your house. Bring yourself back to the present. You might realize it is not as bad as you thought it was or as your story is going on. Mindfulness. Listen to your own breath. Breathe deeply and then listen to your own breathing, the rhythm of your heart. It will calm you down too. When you do that, then you calm down, and that cortisol hormone goes down. And what happens when the cortisol goes down, there's some form of clarity, because you need clarity to face crisis. Clarity is part of your resilience. And when you're clear, then even your heart rate then calms down. The most important thing is to declutter your mind. That also helps you to declutter your emotions. You avoid this wandering, restless mind. Because when you're wandering, you're restless, you're picking this thought and dropping that. You're never solving anything. You're going round and round. You've got this unfinished business. Even when you sleep, your brain is still going round and round in unfinished business. And you wake up more tired than you went to bed because your mind is restless. You have not calmed down. And your emotions are in this state of like palpitation. Avoid information overload. It's bad for your emotions. Learn to practice gratitude. When you bring back your mind to the present, then be grateful about where you are, who you are, how far you have come to that very moment. Present is a gift. So the present moment is a gift. Experience it. Live in it. Sometimes we waste our present because we are living too much in the future or too much in the past. And the present passes us by. And if you live like that, truly it's like you never lived. Practice gratitude. Be grateful about everything you see around you. Small things, small wins. Be grateful that you are alive, you are healthy. You can live to fight another day, face the crisis another day. You have friends and colleagues you can reach out to, loved ones and family, resources around you, free resources online that you can plug into, spiritual resources, good positive books, videos, music. Be grateful. You have food, a roof over your head, or you can reach out to somebody to help you with that roof over your head. There's still some good in humanity. Be grateful. Gratitude is an antidote to bitterness, to depression, to stress. And be generous and compassionate. When you extend help to others in the time of crisis, then there is this emotional reward and benefit that is good for your mind, that is good for your emotion, that is good for your sense of purpose. Generosity and compassion is emotional and is also spiritual. When you help somebody else and they are grateful and you put a smile on their face, it's rewarding. It even it touches the reward center of your brain also. It connects with your emotion and your purpose as a human being. It makes you feel worthwhile and there's meaning to life. So be generous and compassionate, because during crisis we can tend to be so inward looking and lost to everybody else. Even when individuals are trying to extend to us help and support, we don't see it. They give up because you're not appreciating it, you're not receiving it. The other thing is that forgive and get rid of bitterness. You know, lack of forgiveness and bitterness can really eat up your emotional bandwidth. And with it eats up your mental bandwidth, because you keep up stewing up and thinking in the mind how wronged you have been. Yes, indeed, you've been wronged. I've been in that space. And there are many opportunities to be in that space in life. Forgiveness does not mean that you continue staying in the same place of violation. You can forgive and then set and reclaim your boundaries so that you're not violated again, and set it right and remove yourself from a space of violation. But forgive. Get rid of bitterness so that you avail that bandwidth for your moving on, for your productivity, and for your recovery. The most important thing is that when you have mental and emotional resilience, then even your physical starts to flourish, because we know, like, our physiology follows our psychology. So our emotions, our mental, and our physical is connected. Then we need to build spiritual resilience. The spiritual resilience is like an anchor for the other three resilience. We are immortal souls in mortal bodies. We are spiritual beings. Our spirituality is in the fact that we are immortal souls. And we walk in these mortal bodies that allows us to be able to apply and appropriate ourselves in a physical world. When the mortal body is gone, then we can no longer be available in the physical world. And being spiritual is not really religion. Religion is just an expression of how we tend to express our spirituality. But recognizing we are spiritual being is acknowledging and accepting and recognizing and embracing that we are part of something bigger, way bigger than ourselves. We are part of a bigger purpose, a bigger meaning, a bigger story, a big life. We are connected to every living thing. That's why we feel so amazed when we are out there watching the sea, the ocean. There's this sense of peace when you're walking through a forest, enjoying the plants, the plantation, seeing plants grow. When you connect with your pets, there's something there. When you grow a plant and you see it blossom and a flower blossom, you feel a sense of wonder because you're part of the bigger life. You are part of the life-giving God who breathed life into you. So connect with the unlimited God, because during crisis, nothing humbles you like a crisis. It makes you know that you are limited. I know as human beings, when we pump ourselves out, we can call ourselves unlimited. But what makes us unlimited is our ability to plug into unlimited God. I'm reminded of this verse that says that Christ is the vine and we are the branches. A branch is supplied by the sap from the vine. The roots that spread out and bring in all this water and mineral and life goes all the way to the branch. And then the branch is given the privilege of holding and producing that fruit. You manifest productivity through the fruits you produce. But it's because you're connected to a vine that goes deep with roots that have found water and nourishment. So plug into unlimited God. Be in a place of worship and fellowship. Do not neglect your fellowship. Plug into that online church, online fellowship, online prayer group and worship. There's so much going on online. You'll be spoiled for choice. Have some personal quiet time. Read your Bible. Listen to amazing worship music. I find that when I'm exercising and I plug in worship music, I'm being replenished physically, spiritually, emotionally. It's just amazing. Even mentally, my mind calms down. There's such a blessed feeling when we listen to your favorite worship music. You have 4 facets of resilience: physical, emotional, mental, spiritual. Should be self-reinforcing, not self-cannibalizing. When you neglect one area, it tends to cannibalize the others. Because these 3 containers, this bandwidth, remember capacity, resilience is capacity, and also ability, they are connected. They will suck off from each other. So keep all of them replenished. Keep all of them well held up and strengthened up. And you can do this also by affirming yourself. Continue to affirm yourself. Use the word of God to affirm yourself. You're more than a conqueror in Christ Jesus. You're born of the living and enduring word of God. And this is a victory that overcomes the world, even our faith, having faith. And as you persevere through the crisis, we are told perseverance produces character. And character produces hope. The most important thing is to keep hope up during a crisis. Therefore, you need to keep confessing and affirming yourself, reshaping and recontextualizing your self-concept, because a crisis will challenge who you are and what you are. Who you are, your belief system, your foundational values and belief systems will be challenged. What you are, your capability, your capacity, your skill, your resources that you have, financial resources, mental resources, knowledge, skills, abilities will be challenged. Who you are will be challenged. What you are will be challenged. Even your sense of meaning and purpose, why you are, will be challenged. And in the end, where and when you are can collapse, because when who, what, and why are challenged, where you are in the space of life, when you are in terms of your feelings and emotions, starts to spiral in the wrong direction. So it is important for you to continue affirming yourself, journaling, affirmation, practicing mindfulness. These are simple and basic habits, but they have such a deep effect or impact on our resilience. Finally, reorient your lifestyle. Move forward by creating structure around your physical life. Right now, where because of the pandemic, our work has moved to home, schools have moved to home. So your home space that was meant to be sacred and quiet and special to yourself has been violated by schooling and by work. Your colleagues, even your boss, have moved to your home through the virtual meetings that you're having. So you feel your home life is no longer private, sacred to you. Create a structure. Probably just have those Zoom calls and virtual meeting in a one space in your home and leave the other space as sacred, where you congregate with your family and connect away from the workspace that is inside your home, away from the school space that is inside your home. Create a structure around your physical life. If you have lost your means of livelihood, you have lost your everyday work where you used to go to work, even at home, you're not really even working from home. And probably before you used to maybe have quiet time in the morning before you go to work, you used to exercise before you go to work, continue to have quiet time and to exercise. It creates a sense of stability and continuity. This structure, this discipline, this one item that has not changed, helps your mind to feel stable and to feel a sense of consistency even as you adjust to the new. Your mind understands both the change and adjustment, but your mind also needs stability and consistency. It's two parallel, but they need to coexist. They are two parallel things, but they need to exist. That sense of continuity and stability, and that sense of change and adaptation and agility. They coexist. If you remove one, the other collapses. They live together, they balance each other. Then take one day at a time. I like to say, live out your life in biteable chunks. Sometimes you could be thinking about the future, and you think about far off future throughout the time, and you're trying to bite the entire future in. It will choke you. Live one day at a time. Don't worry so much about the future until the present is lost. Say, today I'm alive, this is what I will do today. Have a to-do list for the day. Then plan for the week. Then as you plan for the week, slowly think about the month. Clarify and reorient your goals. In the beginning of the year, you come up with New Year resolutions, looking at the whole year. And sometimes this year runs into the second year, third year, long-term goals. Don't be afraid to clarify them and reorient them and to cut them back, size them back. There's nothing wrong with that. The only thing is that you have not quit, but there's nothing wrong in cutting back. Don't feel like a failure because you've been forced to cut back. In any case, your entire life cannot be measured by one crisis. Even though that one crisis can wipe out your entire life based on how you react and respond to it and how what you become through that crisis. You can completely be wiped out by a crisis when you accept to be wiped out by it. But you can say, I'll cut back so that I'm able to adjust and to deal with this crisis. And then reorient even your resources. You've lost your means of livelihood. You've lost a certain support or a certain stream of income or stream of supply. Then again, face the facts and say, how do I adjust to what I have now as I try to build up and replenish? I want to survive so that when the crisis is over, I'm still on my 2 feet, then I can start rebuilding. If you can't start rebuilding within the crisis, just deal with the crisis. You will rebuild the moment you survive the crisis. You will start to thrive. The other thing is that create social support system, psychosocial support system, and reinforce this. There's nothing wrong shouting out for help. Learn to say, help me. Help. Draw help from your immediate family, from your loved ones, from your online communities that are credible. I always like to emphasize credible sources because you might reach out to help to people who are predators. They cannibalize you. The little that was left is all gone. Or you can reach out to toxic communities who will just come in like vampires and suck out the little physical, spiritual, emotional, and psychological and mental bandwidth that you have. Is all gone. credible sources. Be wise who you reach out to, but please reach out. Declutter your relationship. It's a time to declutter your relationships. Some relationships stack you too much. You know, every relationship, there's what you bring to the table, there's what you take. Ask yourself, what am I bringing? What am I taking out? I'm not telling you to make it so overly transactional like it's a contract. No, but of course, all relationships should be feeding you, and you should also be feeding those relationships. So what are you feeding those relationships? Are they nourishing you? Are you also nourishing those relationships where you are part of the collective communities that you identify yourself with? Declutter them, because you need to preserve your bandwidth. Sometimes it is okay to withdraw a bit so that you can, just the little bandwidth you have is enough for you and the children and the support that you require. But as I told you before, you can increase that bandwidth by reaching out, by being compassionate, by being generous, by extending generosity to other people who could be going through the same experience or a different one, but they're in a crisis. When you extend yourself out, it kind of, you open up the river, I call it that beautiful river of life, river of emotional support. Because when you give a smile, you receive a smile. So be generous, but again, extend yourself to credible and sound communities that are not predatory. So review and reprioritize how you use your time, your energy, and even your money. The most important thing in life is not to know all the answers. Nobody knows all the answers. Resilience is about building your capacity, your ability, and that is your capability to find the answers. The most important thing is to know how to find the answer, is not to know the answers. When you have the skill on how to find the answers, then eventually you will get to the answer. I have a 5-step resilience cycle that summarizes everything I've said. Step 1 is context. Objectively look at the context. What are the facts? Accept what you can control and leave out what you cannot control, what is beyond you. Step 2 is what I call clarifying. Reprioritize your goals, clarify the truth, challenge your confirmation bias, readjust your goals and resources so that you can be able to deal with what you have at that time. Then number 3 is what I call reorienting. Come up with new, manageable goals, biteable chunks, plan, take actions every single day, reallocate your resources every single day, build your ability and skill to deal with that crisis at that time. Number 4 is what I call grit. Build your disciplines, your structures, and support systems. What will keep you going on? Grit is stickability. You don't quit. But you need certain disciplines in terms of your habits, probably your affirmations, your quiet time, exercising time, the day you go for a walk, that structure, that support system, reaching out for help, and you also extending out help. The worship music you listen to, the favorite things you like to do. If your mind is wandering so much, call your kids and play a board game. It's a support system. The 5th step is what I call agility. Adjust as you go, adapt as you go. Keep checking your progress. Keep re-evaluating the fact as a crisis unfolds and things are evolving every single day. Get the right information, credible sources again of information. Continue building new capacity and keep going through this cycle. The cycle is not exactly linear. You can be at context at the same time you go to grit, from grit to agility, you come back to clarify, but really you tend to go around those five points. And I use this even when I do my coaching, how to build resilience. Remember, our dreams, our ambition and aspirations, desires and goals is part of our human life. That's what makes us human, and they can be boundless. But again, it's a fact, and we acknowledge that life will throw us a curveball. Tough times will come. Even the Bible assures us and tells us and confirms that tough times will come. And that our opportunities, our time and human power and resources are limited. But it's also another fact that we are connected to unlimited God. We may be limited mortal beings, but we are connected to an unlimited source of life. So plug in. Remember the scripture we started with, 2 Corinthians 4:9. New Living Translation says, we are hunted down. You feel like life is hunting you down, but never abandoned by God. We get knocked down, but we are not destroyed. King James Bible says persecuted, but not forsaken. cast down but not destroyed. The Darby Bible translation, persecuted but not abandoned. Cast down but not destroyed. Word English Bible, pursued yet not forsaken. Struck down yet not destroyed. And the Good News translation puts it in an interesting way. There are many enemies, but we are never without a friend. And though badly hurt at times, we are not destroyed. So remember, the Bible says more than 365 times in different scriptures and verses of the Bible, do not fear, do not worry, do not be anxious over anything. 365 times, one for each day. And you know the mercies of God are renewable. That is renewable energy. I know we talk about renewable energy. This is renewable energy. His mercies are new every morning. Finally, Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans that I have for you, declares the Lord. They are plans for welfare, for your well-being and not for evil. To give you a future and a hope. And may I add, to bring you to a good expected